Nah, you just get the bow. Your parents had to put it on something, so they put it on that car. But your real gift is the bow.
You know what's weird? A couple years back, a jingle bell got stuck in this penguin's colon. Won't come out, so now it's like a Christmas computer mouse. Pleasure. And I even have my own elf, Kathleen.
This isn't gonna fool Santa.
It's not gonna Santa fool either.
That doesn't make any sense.
Or dollars.
Yeah, why don't you pay me?
Jack Frost nosing at my nips.
Ladies and gentlemen, neither and both. We're privileged to have with us a man known around the world as the eternal Christmas icon. Hey, Santa Claus, how are you?
Festive, thank you. It's great to be here. I've never seen you before.
Well, you look like a Cocker Spaniel.
You got any comments on news or current events?
Sledding off the fiscal cliff, clean coal in your stocking. These are all topics I'd like to avoid. It's Christmas Eve. Let's keep it light. Lighter than a snowflake.
So, Saint Nicholas, why, after all this time, have you decided to prove your existence?
Mostly pressure from the media. I get asked all the time. I figured I might as well make an appearance now. After all, not too many people believe in me anymore. We haven't gotten any letters in quite a while.
Why do you think that is?
Well, mostly because kids these days are finding out sooner and sooner that the presents don't come from me. A lot of parents don't even bother keeping up the myth anymore.
But don't you deliver the gifts?
Not anymore. Not for a long time, I haven't. In fact, ever since Christmas became a shopping season, and all the stores started having sales, we pretty much closed up shop. Why should we have bothered trying to keep up with the big corporations? The truth is, we couldn't keep up with such high consumer demands. Not to mention all the threats we were receiving from big businesses who were trying to cash in on the holiday. Here we were, giving stuff away. Add to it the fact that every lawyer and his brother was on our case about how not paying for long hours and manual labor is the equivalent of an illegal sweatshop. And how can we prove that these people are really elves? It was all too much trouble. I mean, when your only lawyer is a reindeer, you just don't have a chance.
Well, that brings up the sleigh. What can you tell us about your team?
Well, they smelled like horse manure. They were a good bunch. 10 of them we had.
10? The song says you only had 8. And Rudolph made 9.
Well, that was according to the song. A lot of those carols were written by Jews. They don't even celebrate Christmas. We had 10. We had Dasher, Dancer, Prancer, Vixen, Comet, Cupid, Donner. How many is that?
That's 7.
Blitzen, Rudolph, and Asteroid.
Asteroid?
Yeah, Asteroid the reindeer.
But Asteroid the reindeer wasn't in any songs or stories.
Nah, Asteroid pretty much kept to himself. He never came on any of our trips. Was a little strange. He was jealous of comets. That's why he insisted we call him Asteroid. He was very interested in space study. But Mrs. Claus wouldn't let him work at NASA. I remember her saying, "There's redneck slow venison."
Well, as long as we're on that topic, what about Vixen?
Don't get me started on Vixen. She was exactly as her name describes. All the male reindeer were always trying to get a shot at her, but she wasn't interested in them. Vixen had a boyfriend in...
What about the other reindeer? Say, for instance, Rudolph. Does his nose really glow bright red?
Not exactly. You see, he was always snorting coke. Only after he did a line, his nose seemed to shine for about half an hour.
But in the songs you said, and I quote, "Rudolph, with your nose so bright, won't you guide my sleigh tonight?"
No, I was just being sarcastic. One Christmas Eve, we were late for our rounds, and Rudolph couldn't remember where he hid his stash. So instead, he made a line out of Mrs. Claus's cookie mix, cut with some fake snow. You see, each year before I did my rounds, Mrs. Claus would bake a plate of cookies for me, but Rudolph used the last of the mix. So I was furious and started yelling at him. You really think I was going to let a weird little caribou lead my pack? Fat chance. That's why from now on, I demanded every house leave out a plate of cookies and a glass of milk for me.
Speaking of fat, I notice you're not as plump as popular portrayals have shown you to be.
I know! I don't even know how that one got started! I guess it's because the stereotype is that fat men are jollier or something. I've always tried to watch my weight. How else would I fit through everyone's chimneys? Strong enough to lift those big sacks of toys and get all my other running around done. Atkins is as Christmas as America is apple pie. A little analogy for you, except apple pie is Dutch, of course, and I would never touch the stuff.
So you really did go down people's chimneys?
For the most part. If they even had chimneys.
Well, how else did you get in?
First of all, it wasn't always me. I couldn't be in every house. I had a whole army of elves. Mostly they would infiltrate people's security systems and pick the locks. And they went in untraced, of course. We were heavily invested in invisible cloaking technology. Hell, we were using this stuff even before the military knew about that kind of thing.
And are there really elves?
Hey!
Well, not as many as we used to have. Years ago, we had millions of them. Today, we just can't get the young people to convert, and we don't really need them since our workshop is non-operational now. Technically, they're not elves. They're homeless Canadian hobbits who used to inhabit the South Sandwich Islands. It's basically become a foster home for them, since nobody else in the world seems to know about their now nearly extinguished race. Hopefully, the release of the new Tolkien film will raise more interest, if it even matters.
So, there are no such thing as elves?
If you're talking about the kind you see in books, movies, epitaphs, bumper stickers, and fortune cookies, the answer is no. Although this particular species is very short, say 3 feet tall, and they do have pointy ears.
Shifting gears a little bit, do you ever answer letters from children?
No. First of all, due to our location and the postal system the way it is, most of them didn't even get through. And between you and me, we simply didn't have the staff to handle the workload. In the old days, elves, as you call them, couldn't read or write any language but their own native Kanahabashan. Also, every kid wrote to a different, non-existent address.
And why do you go out and deliver toys?
Because I'm Santa Claus?
I know that. I mean, if you weren't receiving written requests, how would you know what to deliver?
Oh, we never knew exactly what to deliver. We had a general sense, of course, when we were still up and running. Not only was the population smaller in those days, they always wanted something simple and were content with whatever they received. Toy train, doll, candy, stuff like that.
How did you manage the naughty and nice list?
That lasted about, 2 years. I gotta tell ya, it was a total mess. Especially without computers. We had to do the whole thing by hand. And we lost track. People kept changing places on the list, because those who are naughty often redeemed themselves, and those who are nice often slipped up. We never really thought it out too well how to decide who had been naughty or nice.
But what about, he sees you when you're sleeping, he knows when you're awake, he knows if you've been bad or good, so be good, for goodness sake.
Of course not! Why, that one's just plain creepy! What do you people think this is? The Patriot Act under the Bush administration?
Hey, I have a few more questions. Do you mind?
Yeah, sure, go ahead. When else are you going to get the chance?
Does your laugh really go ho ho ho?
Only around Easter time, if I'm really drunk.
Well, I think we're about out of time. I certainly want to thank you for visiting us.
Hey, no sweat. Except for literally.
Do you have any words of advice?
What, you mean like how to buy real estate with no money down?
Oh no, I mean advice on generosity and gift giving.
Well, I don't know how magnanimous it is. I'd say one thing is, always try to find a gift that has meaning to the person you're giving it to. Let them know you care. Must be appropriate to relationship. For example, don't be giving your niece money for a boob job. By the way, in case anyone is interested, I've received advance notice that due to the secular progressives, my helpers will no longer be making appearances in malls by the year 2015. Ciao.
Kevin wants me to give this to you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Santa, and good night. And good night.